Hello. So I was just reading an article called Mesopotamia May Not Be the Cradle of Civilization. And it's amazing to me that people still believe the idea that the origins of European culture or civilization, or even just civilization period, came from the Middle East, Mesopotamia. They call it like the Fertile Crescent, but it's a desert. It's a vast desert, and the only way people can survive there is if they already know agriculture. So they must have developed somewhere where the land was more fertile and where life was easier, where they could have a surplus of foods, where they weren't constantly worried about securing the necessities for life. And then they could actually experiment and learn new things like agriculture, and then move south to areas where agriculture is needed to survive. And so this article gets into sort of a new idea that it was actually the Danube Valley that was the cradle of civilization, because basically, I guess the standard that anthropologists and archaeologists are working with is the earliest record of a language, of a written systematic language. And whoever has the earliest artifact proving that they had written language is dubbed the cradle of civilization, or the origins of civilization. So it says, for many years we believed that Mesopotamia was the cradle of civilization because the oldest evidence of a written language was found there. However, archaeologists have discovered the Dispilio tablet in Greece, far northern Greece, which dates to 5260 BC. More recently, they found tablets in the Danube Valley that appear to contain a written language. Those tablets date to 5500 BC, so about 300 years earlier than the Dispilio tablets. A debate rages among archaeologists as to whether these Danube Valley symbols are decorations or a written language. If found to be the oldest written language, it would mean that, as far as we know, civilization began in the Danube Valley, not Mesopotamia. But language takes thousands of years to develop. It must have taken thousands. It's not something that happened overnight, especially a fully systematized written language like this one says it has about 700 different characters, which is similar to the Egyptian hieroglyphs. So this language was already fully developed by the time it was written down, which means, once again, we have another example of a situation where this civilization could have been the product of a migration from a more distant origin point. And I think that there must have been a more distant origin point, or that the Danube Valley was not the origin point, because we have a similar problem to Mesopotamia. The Danube Valley has harsh winters, and it's like a dense forest. It's hard to survive in. You would have had to have developed certain skills in an area where food was more plentiful and you had more time to experiment and the climate was more stable, to be able to develop the technology that would enable you to live in an environment as harsh as the Danube Valley, especially during the wintertime. Now, where in the world is their relatively stable climate with lots and lots of food naturally and readily available. The North Atlantic. With the Gulf Stream, and this is on record, the climactic optimum, which lasted from about 800 BC to 500, or 8,000 BC to 5,000 BC, just about, occurred, and temperatures worldwide were increased by a significant margin, especially in the north. And pollen samples confirm this. You can look this up. Type in Holocene climactic optimum. Pollen samples confirm, and other archaeological records show, like, certain oysters were able to survive extremely far north, and these oysters only survive in a certain temperature, and so it shows that the far extreme north was much warmer during this period of about 8,000 BC to 5,000 BC than it is today, which would have made that area, like around England, around northern France, even up into Scandinavia, that would have made it an extremely fertile, stable climate, like a perpetual spring. And people would have had, the oceans would have been teeming with fish. They would have had a constant source of a great diet, seafood. And it would have also given them a lot of opportunity to have leisure, to just kind of hang around and improve their lives, because the food is so plentiful. You could never eat it all. And the weather was so stable that it would have been an Eden. It would have been a paradise. And so it's interesting to me that the climactic optimum ended at around 5,000 BC, and these tablets in the Danube Valley are being found at around 5,000 BC. Could it have been that the original cradle of civilization, the far north of Europe, which was made extremely fertile and pleasant by the climactic optimum and the Gulf Stream bringing up warm air, and after the climactic optimum ended and winters became more harsh, they moved south, already having the tools and technology and systematized culture to conquer their neighbors to the south and establish these excellent civilizations. That's my theory. So, take from it what you will, but I believe that it's the best theory that I can imagine, or it's the only theory I can really imagine. There's no way that civilization and advanced culture began in a place like Mesopotamia. It's absurd. So, thank you for watching.